Okay, for this three things presentation, we're going to look at three things I've learned and three things I want to learn. So beginning with three things I have learned, we have coding and robotics. Secondly, we have mentors. And thirdly, we have teamworking. For the three things I want to learn, we're going to discuss reflection, creativity, and lastly, motivation. So for coding and robotics, I'm going to discuss coding, and for that I used Scratch programming language. And here on the right, you'll see an example of a project I developed called the Flashing Wall project. So um, the sprite here travels left and right, and as the sprite touches the wall, it changes color, and the sprite gives a random number. So when I was developing the project, I used what's known as pseudocode in order to plan and write out the steps of the project in simple words or in simple phrases. And then lastly, in order to problem solve, I had to debug my program to figure out any bugs or errors in the code so that it ran correctly. So we've discussed coding and robotics of the three things I have learned. So the second thing of the three things I have learned is mentors. And we're going to discuss that now. So as part of the opportunities students have in PTech, they can meet mentors in industry. And here we have an example of a mentor meeting students in the school. And the mentors will come from the 5 industry partners that PTech is involved with in Larkin Community College: Irish Life, Virgin Media, Cisco, IBM, and Irish Water. And when I would have met my mentor, I would have asked them questions, and in conversation with them about what my career goals are, I would have received feedback on how to progress them. So far of the three things I've learned, we've looked at coding and robotics and mentors. And now we're going to look at teamwork. Now in PTech, there are a lot of opportunities for teamwork. One of the ones I participated in was called the Call for Code, which is an annual competition for young students to use technology to solve the world's problems. And in last year's Call for Code, me and my teammates, we were set the challenge of designing an app to address climate change. And part of that, we would have had to work hard and work together to find a solution. And in doing so, I had to research user needs to make sure that the app we would develop was useful for the end user. So far we've talked about three things I have learned. Now we're going to move on to three things I want to learn. And the first is reflection. So as part of my studies in PTech, I will be progressing in 4th, 5th and 6th year in my Level 6 award. And one of the important things we are asked to do is to reflect on our learning. And why is that important? It's important because it helps us to improve our understanding of our learning. And secondly, it helps us to make links between our learning and through that we can understand what we are learning, how it applies to the real world. We can identify the links between our learning and the real world. So moving on the three things I want to learn after reflection, we're going to look at creativity. So as part of creativity, I find it useful sometimes to look at a model to help you figure out opportunities for experimentation and learning. And one model that is very useful is the Scamper model. And here the model starts with substituting. So here we have a pencil and we substitute the tip of the pencil with an eraser. So you extend the use of the pencil. Then we have eliminate. So we might take the lead out of the middle of the pencil and put it into a mechanical clutch pencil so it becomes reusable. Then we have the idea of reversing the use. So a pencil holder could also have a dual use as a flower vase. And if we move on, we're looking at rearranging. So we could have, instead of a pencil with a single function, either a dark lead or a bright color, you could have a dual function pencil with more than one leads inside of different colors. And that's rearranging the use of the pencil. You could also put the pencil to another use. So an old pencil could be used to hang a sign if you drilled a hole in the door or a wall, and you could pop it in and hang a sign off it. And then we would look at how we would change the scale of something. We could magnify and minimize, extra large and extra small. And what effect does that have on our ideas? And lastly, and importantly, we could combine different elements of our ideas. So here we're combining a pencil with a pen. So the model here is designed to show you what is possible in terms of coming up with ideas and recycling your ideas and repurposing your ideas in order to gain some creative use out of your ideas. So lastly, in the three things I want to learn, we're going to look at motivation. So here on the left, we have a table that looks at two different approaches to motivation. We have self-efficacy and growth mindset. And in comparing the two, the definitions are slightly different. In self-efficacy, we do what is necessary in order to achieve our goal. Whereas growth mindset is more of a process model that changes over time. And what does this answer? Well, the self-efficacy model says, I can do this. It's a very positive approach. Whereas the growth mindset says, well, there's going to be failures, but I can also grow from these failures through learning from them. And an example of a difference between self-efficacy and growth mindset is that self-efficacy is fundamental. You have the confidence to do something. Whereas the growth mindset is a comparative model where you're looking at what you've done before and what others have done and thinking to yourself, well, I can do better. And then the relationship of growth mindset to self-efficacy is about achieving your goals through increasing effort. So growth mindset does not stand on its own, and self-efficacy is improved through a growth mindset. So in conclusion, in looking at the three things I have learned, the main skills that we have identified are problem solving, research, and the ability to collaborate. And if we look at each of the three things, we look at coding and robotics, you can see how we have used problem solving and research to both develop our code and debug it. And then if we look at mentors, we found that we can improve and focus our learning to achieve our goals by asking questions. And lastly, when we look at teamwork, we have to problem solve by working with others to solve a problem. We have to research so that we can inform the solution. And we need to collaborate effectively so that each person helps to provide the solution. So as part of, in conclusion, in relation to the three things I want to learn, some of the main skills and learning from that is around understanding, the ability to apply one's learning, and then also change and growth from change. So if we look at the three things I want to learn in turn and how these apply, the first one being reflection, that helps us to gain an understanding about our learning when we reflect, and through this we can change and adapt what we are doing for the next time we do something. We move on to the second one, which is creativity. Creativity helps us to apply our learning in new situations, and also through being creative we gain a deeper understanding of the problem. And then lastly, motivation. Motivation helps us to change and grow by learning from what we have done. And also through that, fundamentally, we apply our learning in our next activity. And it is an ongoing loop or cycle of learning. So there's the three things presentation finalized. Thank you.